From the Aero Sports Tennessee home office along the banks of the Stones River in the heart of Rutherford County, this is the Coach Will Krieske Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Krieske. Now here's your host and play-by-play voice of the Warriors, Chris Bosen.
12th play of the drive, second and goal from the 3-yard line on the near hash. Hamby with a back on his right side. They'll bring everybody in. Jumbo. And the snap goes over Hamby's head. He'll have to track it down. He doesn't have it. It's picked up by the Warriors. Riverdale going to take it all the way the other direction. Riverdale to the end zone. It's Nate Underwood. Nate Underwood will take it all the way back to the house for the touchdown as the snap went over the head of Hamby. He went back to slide on it at about the 20, Ethan, but on this artificial surface, he never had control of it. It squirted out, and then Underwood picks it up and takes it back all the way 80 yards on the fumble recovery. Touchdown. Riverdale in front 27-14 with 4:47. What a moment. What a highlight for Underwood, and what a devastating play for the Rockets.
I mean, you talk about a gut punch. You are 3 yards away from tying the game up and putting yourself in a great chance to potentially come away with a win here. It would be the first big win of this season against a really great team.
Well, welcome to episode 13 of the Coach Will Krieske Show here on Aero Sports Tennessee. I'm Chris Bosen, joined, as always, by Riverdale head coach Will Krieske. Today's show has highlights from the thrilling 28-14 victory at Rockvale Friday night, as well as a preview of Thursday's Battle of the Boro at Oakland. Coach, what a crazy night at the launching pad. That was not decided until the final minutes. Nate Underwood recovers the fumble for an 80-yard touchdown return, which earned not only our defensive play of the game, but preserved the Warrior victory for you. As you saw that play unfold, that's the 12th play of a drive. What was your reaction as you saw the ball go off Hamby's hands and be available for a play?
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little luck, and, Nate did a good job scooping and scoring right there. And, Rockvale was doing a good job driving the ball down and playing. Our defense was playing well, and it was a big play. And, things like that happen. Unfortunately, we had a turnover that led to one of their touchdowns early on in the game. And that just happens when you got two good teams playing and two good teams battling out. Sometimes the playmakers make plays, and that's what their kid did on their pick six. And, Nate, saw an opportunity and seized the moment.
The setup to that play on the previous play, you get a big stop on Paldo, which they like to run that play inside the 5, throw it to him. It took about 3 guys to bring him down, but you kept him out of the end zone. And then as that play unfolded, one of your linebackers is jumping up and down as though he knew what was coming. Is that what was going on there?
Again, they do a lot of studying, and Coach Rail and him do a great job. And Jeremy Thompson was picked up a key and was trying to communicate with the other guys and just let them know what he thought was coming their way.
It was an interesting game in so many ways. It was the coldest game we had played. And I wondered, it wasn't cold yet, but in terms of where we have been in the 80s and the 70s and the heat, did that have any impact on the players and on the sidelines?
You'd like to say it didn't, but I don't know. When you jump out to a 21-7 lead, you'd like to finish it and not keep a team around it. And so maybe in the second half, some of that coldness set in, and some of our mentality just was a little bit different than it was in the second quarter. I thought we played a heck of a second quarter, and I talked to the kids about that, about some of them mentally weren't in the second half because they were more worried about how cold they were than playing a football game.
Well, and also, let's not overlook, I know Rockvale's in a fight for their playoff lives, but you said all the way back in the summer that some teams are going to get left home that could win a playoff game. That's a playoff team.
No, that's a very good football team. That is a playoff team. And I've said all along, there's going to be, I believe Siegel's a good football team, and Smyrna's a good football team. So I think there's going to be teams that could possibly win a playoff game that are packing up their equipment this weekend. And that's unfortunate due to the region. Look at this coming up this week. You got a chance to play for Riverdale's got a chance to play for the region championship, now we have to have some things happen. We have to have Rockvale upset Blackman, and, we have to pull off the upset ourselves. But, we could go from first to third. How crazy is that? That's how tight this region is, and how top to bottom this region is. Comparably, everybody's about the same. And you got to be you got to limit your mistakes on Friday, so you're not letting other people to determine your fate or your outcome.
Yeah, we're going to talk about these region standings and potential things, but nothing's decided. We go into game 10, and nothing is decided yet, and only one or two teams have been eliminated really from postseason contention, and so it's just pretty incredible. It's been a fantastic season. But I want to get to some more of these highlights here. We've got a bunch of them from the victory over Rockvale. We saw the defensive play of the game there. You had a 2nd and 15 from the 35-yard line when we get one of our first offensive plays of the game. It's Gavin Hampton to Corben Reynolds. We'll take a look at that highlight right here.
Caps, it is cool. 2nd and 15 after the penalty from the 35-yard line. Hampton now is pressured. He spins away from a would-be tackler. Rolls right, throws downfield, has his receiver. And Gavin Hampton made that play work. Corben Reynolds on the other end, unable to bring Hampton down. I believe it was Melvin Boone had the pressure, had him dead to rights. Hampton slipped away and got a completion downfield all the way into Rocket territory at the Rockvale 36-yard line to Corben Reynolds.
I mean, that is just a huge play right there. To be able to avoid what would have been probably would have killed the drive, turn it into a massive game.
The defensive front, particularly the defensive ends for Rockvale, Boone and Paldo, impressive. Maybe some of the best I've seen this year in the region.
Yeah, they did a really good job, and both those guys have been starting for 2 years, and they play physical, and they come off the edge pretty hard, and you have to, like you said, those two were pretty good, pair that we've seen together all year, I think.
Gavin, to keep that play alive and scramble and make something happen. When you have evenly matched teams, and we're going to talk about one that we're going to play on Thursday night as well, you have to have those extra kind of effort plays to keep plays alive, whether it's on offense, defense, or special teams.
Yeah, you expect your players to make plays in those big games, and that's those moments, and you expect them to do what they're coached to do, and then use a little bit of their ability, and that's what happened on that play with Gavin being able to extend the play and then getting the ball to Corben, and Corben was able to focus and catch that football and get that first down right there.
The next highlight I want to look at is something we talked about earlier in the season. I know it's part of the playbook that is evolving that you've been working on, but it was the prettiest toss sweep run we've seen all year. It's Jacob Vaughn on a 10-yard pickup.
Hampton with 3 receivers left. It's Braylon Burns wide left. Talley is in the slot on the left, and Tritch in close. Corben Reynolds on the right side all by himself, the short side of the field. They'll run toss. Jacob Vaughn on 25, runs into the back of his blocker, Talley, and gets it down to the 20. That was the best-looking toss sweep play we've seen all year. I know coaches said they've been working on it at practice.
You have been working on it in practice. That one looked nice. It looked like they had run that numerous times, Coach, and so it's good to see that evolution.
Yeah, they're starting to work together and starting to be able to add more things and, put more on everybody's plate. Everybody's starting to get comfortable with what we've done and what we're doing. And, like as you said, as the season evolves, we got to add a little bit more and give them a little bit more to these kids, and they got to focus in and be ready. They can't be satisfied with the results that we've already had if they want to continue to keep playing.
Before we get to our next highlight, Coach, there was a long delay on a penalty that wound up being a penalty against Rockvale, either too many men on the field or a participation type of penalty. What was going on there, and what was taking so long with the discussion?
The officials wanted to make sure they made the call right. They wanted to make sure that they didn't know. They wanted to make sure they added the 15 yards at the right spot, whether it was at the end of the play or was it where the ball was previously spotted. So there was a very good crew that we had Friday, and they in the game like that they wanted to talk it over and make sure and evaluate and analyze and make sure every rule was used correctly. They didn't want the officials to be the outcome of the game. And I respect them for doing that.
Yeah, no, they had several times where they got together. They got multiple people together. It's just hard when you're up there because they don't have the microphone to kind of communicate what was going on. What was the actual penalty in that situation?
The illegal participation. Rockville had a young man. The play came towards our sideline, and it was almost over. And the young man, stepped on the field too soon. You could tell he was coming in for the next play, and he stepped on the field and too soon and made it too far. And unfortunately, it was right beside the official, and the official saw it, and he just couldn't let it go.
And it was all the way over on Rockvale's sideline.
Yes.
So that just shows you, I mean, it's completely on the other side of the field from the play. We thought perhaps someone had stepped out of bounds and come back in to make a play or something like that, but had no idea that it was from the Rockvale sideline.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that explanation. As we move on to our next highlight, 1st and 10 from the Rockvale 41-yard line. A terrific catch here from Braylon Burns on a nice throw from Gavin Hampton.
Snap, 1st and 10. Hampton looking to throw left side, single coverage, coming back on the back shoulder throw to make the catch inside the 10 is Braylon Burns. Burns got to it. And what a throw and catch that was. Burns had to turn around, single coverage, and the connection there from Hampton to Burns will set Riverdale up 1st and goal all the way down to the 7-yard line.
Really appreciated the catch there from Braylon Burns. It gives you 1st and goal and allows you to get points on the board.
Braylon did a good job concentrating on the football and being able to bring it in, and Gavin did a great job of the ball placement, and it set us up for a touchdown right there. I think it was the next play that Jacob Vaughn got in the end zone.
Let's go to that right now.
All right.
They'll go 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Vaughn is on the left side of Gavin Hampton. Snap. Hampton wants to throws to Vaughn, front corner, crosses the plane, and touchdown, Riverdale. As Jacob Vaughn hauled it in, that looked like the same play they ran for a touchdown a week ago. Ethan, this time, though, the throw was able to be caught before he got to the goal line, stepped across the plane, and the Warriors are a point away from tying this ball game up with 8:53 to go in the second quarter. That was a nice response offensively on that drive for Riverdale.
How important do you think it was to make that offensive response on the drive after the pick six put you down and a first quarter that was scoreless at the end of the first 12 minutes to get right back in that and the offense to get their footing again?
I thought that was very huge for the game and for the momentum. Rockvale was picking up the momentum at the time, and, we needed to do something to slow that momentum down. I thought the offense did a great job of executing and being able to get that ball in the end zone right there.
So it capped a 4-play, 62-yard drive, made it 7-7 with 8:53 to play in the second quarter. And, Coach, from 8:53 in the second quarter to 3:12 in the second quarter, a span of 5 minutes and 41 seconds, you put 21 points on the board. You talk about that momentum shift. I mean, could you feel it shifting on the sideline? A 5-minute, 41-second span for 3 touchdowns is pretty incredible.
That was pretty good. And it was, we're playing fast. And unfortunately, we got a little complacent after that 5 minutes and 21 seconds. But, the kids did a great job. And, you could tell after we scored that first touchdown, the momentum started to change and just our kids' body language and how they were acting and reacting on plays, and special teams were making big plays, and the defense was making big plays and just setting us up. We all 3 phases were playing extremely well during that time and was able to set us up for quick scores.
The defense comes up with a big play on the second play from scrimmage after you score that touchdown as Zayden Jones intercepts Jonathan Hamby.
Ball's right between the hash marks here as the Rockets go right to left. Jonathan Hamby will operate with single receiver left, single receiver right. They got the H-back on the right side and a back with him. Wants to throw left. Zayden Jones intercepts that at the 31-yard line. Intended receiver was R.C. Chia, but maybe some miscommunication there because Hamby threw it short right to Jones. Chia was behind on that route.
And it looked like just one of those kind of option routes where he can either sit or he can go. He's decided to go more further downfield, didn't sit on it.
Just from an offensive standpoint there, when an interception like that is thrown, is that miscommunication? Is that a receiver running a different route? Zayden just seemed to be in the right place, right time, having read it.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that could happen on that play, whether it was a receiver or the quarterback, I'm not for sure exactly. But, Zay did a good job sitting on a route and then being able to make a play. I think he expected maybe Zay to be behind him a little bit more, and then Zay squatted on it and was sitting right there. And, Zay also had help over the top, so he was comfortable to be aggressive right there and make that play.
So Jones gets the interception, sets you back up with the football. You go to 2nd and 5 at the 26-yard line. And again, Coach, I know you don't like to see him running, but Gavin Hampton, I think, his biggest run of the year on our next highlight.
We also have seen that toss sweep play be effective as their defenders get up the field quickly and get around the corner. Let's see if they might go back to that. 2nd and 5 here from the 26-yard line. 4 receivers. They'll roll right, roll the option. Hampton going to keep it himself, outrun a man at the 15, inside the 10. Gavin Hampton just read ran the option with Jacob Vaughn, and Hampton took it himself for a big pickup on 2nd and 5.
Well, it worked perfectly because they ran it earlier with Vaughn, and he pitched it to Vaughn. So this defense is already expecting it's going to be the same thing. They don't think they've got the same kind of a mobile quarterback they're dealing with as other teams. But he keeps it for himself, cuts through the gap, and picks up a huge gain. They're now down inside the 10.
That scripting of the game, we saw the toss sweep earlier. It really helped set up that play, and a good read for Gavin.
Gavin did a great job reading that play and then keeping it and then getting it downfield. I thought he was going to score on that play. I told him I thought he was an athlete, but he did a good job and made a great read and great run right there.
So that sets you up for the touchdown. It's 1st and goal at the 7, and he finds Corben Reynolds, your transfer from Loretto, for another one of the touchdowns in Reynolds' senior season.
Club playing tonight down against Inter Miami. Here's the 1st and goal play. Hampton throws to the end zone. Reynolds elevates. Reynolds hauls it in. And the big man from Loretto adds to his touchdown totals here in 2025. He puts Riverdale in front at the 6-minute, 30-second mark of the second quarter with a 7-yard touchdown pass from Gavin Hampton. Riverdale now in front 13-7. Extra point is pending. And Corben Reynolds can go up and get the football the same way he would go up on the basketball court and pull down a rebound.
I don't know if Corben intends to play basketball this season or not, Coach, at Riverdale, but when he uses all of his tools, his speed, his strength, and then his leaping ability, very tough to defend.
Yeah, it is. That was a tough play for that defender to make. And, again, Gavin did a great job placing the ball, and Corben did a great job going up and getting it with 2 hands and high pointing it, making it impossible for the defender to make that play on the ball, and that was great execution by both guys right there in the front. Did a good job blocking and giving Gavin time to make that throw.
3-play, 31-yard drive, just a minute, 33 seconds off the clock. You're up 14-7 at the 6:30 mark of the second quarter. And the team seems to have found the rhythm at this point, Coach. I mean, offensively, defensively. What we said in the broadcast, that first quarter went 0-0 after we, in our pregame, talked about all the offensive fireworks we could be in for with these two offenses and talented players. Instead, it's 0-0. A slow start is not going to be something you have the luxury of coming up on Thursday, though.
No, we can't have a slow start Thursday. Oakland's really good, and they play really fast on defense, and they got a lot of playmakers around the ball, and so we got to be able to start fast. We can't start slow, and we got to be able to execute drives, and we got to extend drives. We can't go 3 and out, and keep the ball in their hands. They got very talented people on offense, and, we got to be able to stop them.
On the next drive for Rockvale, they get into a 3rd and 13 situation from the 26-yard line. Hamby looks to his big tight end, Paldo.
See what Riverdale wants to do up front. Beware the big play here. Jonathan Hamby, the quarterback, will have 2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Back on his left side. He wants to throw. He's under pressure. Sets up a screen to Paldo, but they sniff it out. Aiden Emmons wraps him up. They had Emmons right on the big tight end, and Emmons drops him before he could even get back to that original line of scrimmage, and it's 4th and long. Punt time for the Rockets.
If Paldo is able to get his legs moving, he becomes a freight train. And so for Aiden to come up and make that solo open field tackle and force that punt, just a huge play.
Yeah, that was big for us and gave us, good field position right there. So, I thought the Aiden did a great job reading his keys and being able to make that play right there.
And you pressured Hamby on the play, knowing that, the tight end becomes a weapon that puts him in even a more one-on-one situation.
Yeah, put him in a little bind, but, Aiden's athletic and, we expected him to make that play.
Always nice when they do what you expect, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah.
So Emmons gets the stop there. You force the punt, and there was another conversation here, Coach, between the officials. We're talking about how that crew got together numerous times. It ultimately resulted in a holding that moved the ball forward again. But their conversations and willingness to do that, you appreciated that.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure they got the where to access the penalty on the holding. Was it before a kick, after the kick, and so they wanted to make sure that they got it right. And was it change of possession, and they really took their time to make sure all the calls were right. And they wanted to make sure they had a good, clean game.
That's really all you can ask for, isn't it, as a coach, is that they're at least willing to ask one another and know why they're making the ruling and what the ruling is, to be sure they're getting it as accurate as they can.
Yeah. Again, like I said, that was a good crew. When they walked up for my pregame meeting, I laughed and said, "Well, they send us the all-star crew tonight?" And but it was a really good crew, and I appreciate their due diligence to make sure all their calls went correctly.
Our offensive play of the game came on a 2nd and 19 from the 49-yard line. It is Gavin Hampton to the freshman, Luke Tritch.
So you're trying to do a couple things here in the final 3 minutes, 20 seconds of the first half. Hampton to throw, 2nd and 19 down the middle. Luke Tritch catches it at the 20, inside the 10, inside the 5 as he beats 2 defenders and takes it to the house. Luke Tritch from 49 yards out. It was a rope on the delivery from Gavin Hampton. And yes, folks, he's just a freshman, but he is strong. He's got a couple of D1 offers already, and Luke Tritch puts Riverdale in front 20-7 with 3:12 to go first half. Extra point pending. What a beautiful throw and a better run after catch for Luke Tritch.
I mean, that was a perfect throw. It's right on the money. He connects with Tritch in stride. He doesn't have to break away from the route, and from that point on, it's just full force with a head of steam. 2 defenders collide, and they couldn't bring him down.
Snap, hold, kick is up. It is good. Weaver hits out of the hold of Rolling, in the snap of Cooper Dees, a 49-yard touchdown strike.
We're in baseball season. I know we've been talking about baseball a lot. I remember Adam Wainwright, as fellow Cardinal fans, used to say in his practices, you're trying to throw a baseball into a teacup. That's what he sees in the strike zone. Gavin delivered that football in a teacup just inches above the outstretched hand of a defender.
Yeah, again, it was good ball placement and good catch by Luke, and Luke was able to, get good yards after contact. It's impressive to him to get in the end zone. Now, I don't mind the home runs when they're successful. It's just when they're unsuccessful,
Well, no, but it is true. I mean, the sustained drive sometimes hasn't happened, and we come out there and we take the big shot. But you're absolutely right. When they're successful, they're always nice to watch. That capped that 3 touchdown, 5-minute 41-second span there. A 2-play, 40-yard drive, a minute 1 off the clock, put you up 21-7 with 3:12 to go in that second quarter, going in to halftime. Am I wrong, Coach? Did you guys not even go inside? You just went behind the stands at half?
Yeah, the situation is different, and so we went behind the stands and right there, sit in the bleachers of the baseball field. So we did sit outside during that time, and again, I felt like some people were more worried about the weather than working on some adjustments and get some things fixed.
Now, that's a lot different than you have at home. We've mentioned before that at halftime, you're able to go in with technology and look at different things and watch video and things like that. So that really changes things up when you're outside. Is that the situation you'll have Thursday night as well at Oakland?
That is a similar situation that they have at Oakland, unfortunately. I don't know why we provide everybody with a nice spot, but we have to stay outside. I don't even think we get access to locker rooms just because, again, it's all the way across campus on the other side of campus, and you have to walk through the entire crowd and things like that. But, that's part of it. It's been like that for years. So, we just roll with the punches and go.
Always something different, always something new. But it's nice, Coach, for you, having, been there 10 years now, for these players that are going to experience the first time, how do you prepare them for that?
You just got to keep working and keep preparing and talking to them and just educating them about the game, and it's a big game. It's like I said, like you said, I've been here since, last 10 years as a head coach and been an assistant in 09 and been through like my second year here, we went through 3 overtimes with them, so, I've been part of some really good rivalries between the Battle of the Boro, and you just got to get these kids mentally and physically prepared because it is a physical game. But one thing, Oakland, they're gonna strap up their helmets, they're gonna hit you, and we have to be able to respond to that.
Second half, you have the 21-7 lead. Rockvale has a very nice drive, a big drive, a sustained drive to put points on the board and pull a little closer. You then face 3rd and 13 at the 33-yard line, and once again, Hampton looks to Corben Reynolds.
3 receivers left. Hampton claps his hands, single receiver right, in the pocket, has time, looks across the middle, finds Corben Reynolds. Corben Reynolds at the 40, still on his feet, trying to shake off a couple of tacklers. It's taking 3 guys. They still haven't got him on the ground, and now he'll be tackled inside the 35. First down, Corben Reynolds across the middle of the field, and the senior transfer from Loretto comes up in a big situation to give Riverdale a first down into Rockvale territory.
It was another critical pickup, sustain a drive, and keep time moving off of that clock, Coach. And then the defense on a 3rd and 28 from the 37-yard line, you'd gotten an intentional grounding call against Hamby to set them in that long situation. And one of our favorite seniors, or juniors, I always call him a senior. I don't know what it is, Hudson Fuqua, the junior, comes up with a big interception.
They've got to get to the Warrior 35. Hamby takes the snap, rolls right, looks downfield, airs it out, and it is intercepted by Hudson Fuqua at the 40. Hudson Fuqua at the 50 into Rockvale territory. Hudson Fuqua, I don't know if he plays baseball, but he looked like a center fielder just waiting for that to come down. Intercepted it and went the other way. Hamby was trying to make a play, but the defense for Riverdale had it covered up.
I don't know if he plays baseball, Coach. Hey, he's got the skills. He probably could if he wanted to.
Yeah, no, he runs track in the spring.
A little later on, late in the game, he tried to make a Willie Mays catch over the hands on a ball going out of bounds. It didn't come up, so I thought, well, maybe not. But the defense, and Fuqua's ability to kind of patrol that area there as a safety. Thursday night's game, Oakland uses their safeties in a very similar way because they're so athletic. To be able to move laterally side to side on the field, it's a big challenge when you have guys in that secondary who can do that.
It is a big challenge, and we got to play well. But again, we're fortunate to have Hudson on our side, and Hudson does do a good job tracking the ball. He does a good job running downhill, filling alleys for run, and so he is a big player for us. But like you were talking about the opponent from Thursday, there's three safeties, that they run around. Joel will come downhill and strike you, and Justin Haggard. They all play really well, and they put Craig Tutt. They move Craig Tutt around, and he does really well. Tracking the ball and you can see something that'll be open and their closing speed and how fast they are. It's pretty impressive.
Not only that, Coach, these DBs particular, I think maybe more than any other position on the field, they tend to enjoy baiting you in on certain things. So looking like they're a step or two away, but knowing they have that closing speed to come up, and make a play on the football. How do you prepare for that? Because these are probably the best corners, the best DBs you've seen. Although we go back to the Knoxville Catholic game that you said we need to see this kind of speed. You go to Blackman, you go to some other games. You've seen it, but this is a different level.
That's why they're one of the top programs in the state, and they do a good job. They're very well coached. All their assistants do a great job and implementing Coach Creasy's standards. And, we just got to be able to, we do a lot of one-on-ones and make sure a lot of work. You can't just prepare in 1 week for this game. It's something you have to prepare all season long. It's not something you prepare for 4 days. It's an all off season type of preparation to get ready for these guys and make sure your guys are mentally ready, physically ready, and they're physically capable to do their job, and they know how to do their job correctly each and every snap.
We've said in previous shows, Coach, that you have a pretty good relationship with Coach Creasy, and things like that. You've both been around almost the same amount of time. He's 1 year longer there at Oakland. What is the vibe like though of this game once kickoff happens? What is it like down on the sideline?
It's just. For us, it's an experience like no other. I enjoy it. Again, Coach Creasy is somebody I highly respect. I think Coach Creasy, for what he does, makes me better every year, every off season. Because how hard he works and what he does and the success he has, that only ups a notch of myself and my staff and our program, and keeps that fire burning, because we want to catch that. We want to try to bypass him someday for what he's done over there at Oakland. But once the ball's kicked off, it's an intense battle. It's laser focused. It's every snap matters. If you look at last year's both the games, every little thing mattered. We were up 10 both games in the second half and end up losing both games, because of little mistakes. And you have to protect the football. You have to extend drives. You have to limit their drives. You have to play flawless on special teams. So we have to play really well Friday. Are we going to make mistakes? Yes. But can we be mature enough to move to the next play? To turn on the page, because they are a good football team. If you keep stressing about a mistake in the second quarter, it'll affect you the fourth quarter and a great outcome. The thing that's happened in the last 3 years, I think that our guys have been able to understand that Oakland's going to make plays. They're going to make plays, but let's just play the next play. Let's go out and play the next drive. You can't hang your head against these folks. Let's just go out and play ball and do what we do. And then try to keep eliminating mistakes and just let the chips fall where they are during the fourth quarter.
Rockvale played them, scored 14 points against them, which was the most points they had given up in region competition this season. And the Rockets turned the ball over 6 times, against them, Coach, and some big special teams play. You've now seen Rockvale and beat Rockvale. Is there any wisdom that the team can gain from knowing, from knowing what Rockvale was able to do, from knowing if we eliminate turnovers, if we play well on special teams and maybe, prevent those explosive special teams plays that Oakland has been thriving on, that improves our chances.
Yeah, again, like you just said, we just got to eliminate mistakes. You can't play perfect, but you got to eliminate. You can't give up big plays on special teams. We like you said, we all study film. All of us coaches, and we watch film and study and see what Rockvale did and the success Rockvale had. But also, there's something a little bit different with this game is everybody's out playing their best. Everybody's in, everybody's locked in. You're going to get all 11 that are on the field at Oakland one time are going to give their best. All 11 on the field at Riverdale are going to give their best. You'll just see the intensity stepped up, the enthusiasm stepped up, the focus is different. It's just, when it's Riverdale, Oakland, again, it is the oldest rivalry in state, in our area, and it's just, it's different. You just got to be a part of it. And you know what, Coach Creasy knows what it's about. He's been a part of it for 11 seasons over there, and he understands it, and our guys understand it. And that's just what it's about. The city is this is what they talk about. That's what the old timers still talk about, Riverdale Oakland game.
The fan support, I suppose then in a game like this, it'll be my first experience of a battle of the Borough. I've seen some other battles in some other counties that are pretty good rivalries, but the fan support is going to be important Thursday night.
Oh, it's going to be huge. It's going to be big for us. We need all the fans out there, and we need the stands packed. We need them to be loud. We need the fences, people hanging on the fences. Unfortunately, Coach Creasy gets all the gate money from this, but I know his side and his stands will be packed, and they're going to be loud because they understand what it means for them, their program, and just their school and community.
The one thing that happened with the victory Friday night is you did secure postseason, so you're going to be playing after this week. Laverne has been eliminated at this point. Stewart's Creek and I believe Siegel now actually eliminated by virtue of some tie breaks that would have to happen that they can't get in. But Rockvale and Smyrna, if Smyrna was able to get a victory, if Rockvale falls, Smyrna can get in on some tie breaks there as well. But having clinched that postseason, it's sort of like Vanderbilt this year clinches a bowl game. They don't care. They got bigger goals, yeah. and I think that seems the same for you.
We clinched it. That's what we're supposed to do. And let's go. We want to give ourselves an opportunity for this Thursday night, and let's go let the chips fall and see what happens. Again, we said if some things happen, we can end up first in the region. But that's up to us. That's going to be how we're going to play. How fast we'll be, how physical we'll be, and how mistake-free we'll be.
A victory Thursday coupled with a Rockvale win at Blackman would give you that number one seed by virtue of the tiebreak over Oakland head-to-head. You can also, still get a share of the region championship with a victory. Even if Blackman comes up with a win, then it's a three-way tie. That's pretty incredible, Coach. You could sit here, beat the number 2 team in the state potentially, and wind up as a 3 seed out of your region. I mean, we've said all along, I don't think there's a better region in the state.
No, there's not a better region from top to bottom in the state, and not a more tough region from top to bottom than what we have. I mean, look, Smyrna may be left out of the playoffs, and they were 10-10 with us at halftime. Rockvale may be put out of the playoffs, and they had a opportunity to tie the game with 6 minutes to go. It's just crazy where we sit at, with this region.
And then over in Memphis, I mean, they've got a couple regions that have 4 teams.
Yeah, don't get me started. You trying to get me going? You trying to get me going this morning?
No. We'll talk about the postseason next week. I know we will, but I mean, it is true. Like and we'll save that for next time. But I know the different states approach things differently. There's some different talk on some other sports in Tennessee about seeding some teams differently. I don't know how you do it, but when you've got an 8-team region and a 4-team region, something seems off there to me.
It does. Again, I told Coach Renshaw last week when I saw him at the radio show, I feel bad because I think he deserves a chance to be in the playoffs.
How are you health-wise going into Thursday night's game?
Hopefully, we can get Czar back. Czar's been out the last few weeks and he's, missed some time, but I think he's finally healthy, ready to go. He's gone through some practices and we'll see. And just, again, it'll be another game type decision like the last few weeks. with it. And, we're going to need all bodies healthy, man. We're going to need everybody healthy. Wyatt Petroka, he has his ACL surgery today, so his family and, they're in our thoughts and our prayers as he's going through that today. But other than that, we've got the same usual guys that's been out with surgery, Aiden Rivas and LB and Jonathan Turner. But everybody else has got the normal bumps and bruises and, beat up from 9 games already.
Sure. And the weather is not cooperating. I mean, we've had rain the last several days. Has it impacted your practices at all?
Sunday, it did Sunday a little bit. Yesterday, we were able to go outside the entire time. Sunday, it was, a little hard rain, soft rain, because we had to get out and get some work done on Sunday, since we're losing a day of preparation this week.
Well, hopefully it's supposed to be dry come game time on Thursday, but we'll be there on the air 6 o'clock with the replay of the Coach Will Kreisky Show, 6:35 approximately live there from the Oakland Stadium, and then 7 o'clock kickoff, Battle of the Boro. Coach, my first time to experience it, the number 2 team in the state, the number 23 team in the state. I know the coaches don't look at those ratings, but all the fans certainly do. It's going to be a game to remember.
It always is, and it's always fun. And, you enjoy the experience for these kids. These kids get to go out there and experience something special that they can talk about the rest of their life.
I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to be there, and I look forward to next week. Hopefully it's filled with highlights, and we'll be able to talk about who that postseason pairing is and get set for the TSSAA playoffs.
It's crazy. Playoffs are coming right around the corner. I appreciate it, Chris.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for this episode of the Coach Will Kreisky Show. Remember, Warrior fans, be proud, be bold, be brave, and ever loyal. Until our next episode, for head coach Will Kreisky, I'm Chris Bosen. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
This is the Coach Will Kreisky Show, a weekly showcase of highlights, interviews, and insights from Riverdale head football coach Will Kreisky. This is Riverdale football. All hail.